I don't mind that there's just a few of you. It's fine. I've been, this is my 40th anniversary.
Congrats.
40 years doing this stuff. And I tend to get a lot of the same questions asked, but I don't mind. And all I can be is just honest. So a little bit about me and how I got into this. I was working doing special events and worked a lot with ad agencies, and this is going back 45 years. And also started working I was doing writing for commercials and catalogs and things, and eventually made my way up, and I was an associate producer, director, and creative director. But early on, the ad agencies I would contract with, and they would give me relatively small jobs to do. And I went out in 1985 and was producing at a radio station spot, and the talent was sick and called at the last minute. So there weren't a whole lot of options. And the engineer said, well, why don't you try it? What's the worst thing? Say they hate it and they'll have to reschedule. But lo and behold, I went back and they said, oh, hey, you just keep doing it. And I'm not sure if it was because I was adequate or because they were saving the $50 on the talent fee, because I got paid a package, But in any case, that rolled into doing more and more work, people finding me on the internet, not internet, there was no internet, 1985. No, finding me through the radio station, other places, and I'm in San Francisco, so a lot of things happened there. We had the .com boom, which was really good, and also early voices for video games. So I was a gamer. I played Commodore 64, Atari 2600, Amiga, Apple IIe, 2C, But early on, I was in one of those Atari SIGs, and they were developing codecs to get voice, to put voice on games. And something about my voice stuck, so that was kind of the beginning of it and getting known. Prior to that, as a producer, actually before I even became a voice actor, I was producing work and going to LA, and I got to meet other voice talent, and I'm an impersonator, I guess. And so I wound up doing sound-alike work for early cartoons and things of that nature in the early 80s, but I'm not credited. It was all cash work under the table. They didn't want people who were watching these cartoons to think that it was somebody other than the actual actor doing it, so it was very hush-hush. Who'd have known that, just a few years later, I'd actually start doing this stuff, and by 1990, I had a full-blown career doing it. So I'll see what you guys have, your questions are, and I'll do my best to answer them. Thank you.
What would you recommend to someone wanting to get into voice acting?
It's very, very tough. Unfortunately, what you've got right now is you've got more lies than truths. But the thing about it is, you can say that about most things. It's perception. It's not necessarily, oh, look at, oh, the water.
It happened.
I can be like Aquaman. Okay. It's really, really tough. You have people who are like married to major producers, and they're going out and they're giving workshops on how to get work doing voiceover. I don't know, I think it'd be a quick workshop. Just marry a producer and you'll get work. But that's what's going on now. Go work for a game company as a game tester or something. Get yourself known. It is such a weird time for so many people doing so many things. The only thing I could tell people is, and I used to tell people who want to get into voiceover like 30 years ago, I'd say, you know what? Get a job doing the building trades, become an electrician or plumber or carpenter or something like that. You can cut your own hours, and you'll make money and you'll pay your bills, and then you can play around and try and do voiceover. The reason why I was very hesitant about doing this was because I always heard the word starving before artist. And I had a lot of friends, I did improv for years, and a lot of friends that were trying to do this, and they weren't making much money. So it is a very tough racket, and especially for me. So what happens is when older voice talent pass away, people inherit their voice. And now it looks like in the future that's not going to be happening as much because of AI. So why would they pay me money to do the voice of Yogi Berra or Yogi Bear? Yogi Berra, baseball player. Yogi Bear, hey boo boo, bless you. When they could just do it with the AI, and it's much easier. So yeah, come on in. Or don't. Do you have any questions out there in the hall? It's all about rolling with the punches. It doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. It's fine. Every day that I get up and I look in the obituaries and my name's not there, it's a good day. So the things I would say is the thing is that there are more people out there in voiceover and acting now that want to extort money from you than ever before. They're charging like $3,000–4,000 for people to do voice demos. They want to charge you a fortune to build a home studio and all this kind of stuff. Even the union, SAG-AFTRA, that I belong to, they're charging people like $3,000, $3,500 to join. Do you know the odds are that maybe only 1 out of every 50 people that join this year, the union, is ever going to even make that amount back? So, you know, learn skills, get together with people, do stuff on the internet. Axe Cop is a perfect example. There was just a bunch of voiceover friends of mine and one of their brothers that had an idea, and that got sold to Adult Swim. So, you know, create your own content, develop your own following, make a signature. So that's my pivot right now, because even though I can do like a lot of different voices of cartoons and people in history or whatnot, working on Matthew McConaughey. Wow, all that. And even now, what you're seeing is a kind of a myth. I was talking to somebody who puts on big cons, and he said that he's had some major A-listers like Al Pacino's people reach out about doing cons. And if you look, there's big names at all of these. So what does that say? The work is changing, it's drying up, so there's this kind of myth out there. You know, people will say, we're always looking for new voices. No, I cast people, I direct people. I'm not looking for new voices. I'm trying to get the old voices who are all my friends to get some work. And that's probably more true. You know, I was doing work for one producer for a lot of games that he was doing, and now he's become Mr. Coach, Mr. Teacher, Mr. whatever. Suddenly I don't do work for him anymore. It's his students, the people who are spending money with him. Yeah, I don't even know if they're going to make back as much as they spent, you know, with him, but whatever. So it's all who you know. If you know people out there that owe you favors and they're in a position. But other than that, come up with a great idea, get some people together and make it happen. These days, it's real simple to do. you know, having worked in advertising for years as a broadcast producer, it is amazing what I can do. Right now, Gemini, for example, or Journey, all these AI programs, they can make like full-blown 30-second commercials out of nothing. It's incredible. Sure, it takes a while to do it, and the people are complaining, oh, it's 6 fingers or whatever, you know. Do it long enough, change the prompts around, you get something great, and they're like, oh, it took me 2 days, really? Because it's taken me like weeks to do commercials in the past, and then edited them and add things and stuff. So it's really all your perspective. There are people now who think, oh, wow, if I can get like $25 an hour doing voiceover and I don't have to leave my house, that's great. And then that's in perspective to what I came up with, and maybe I'm spoiled, so, you know, everybody's going to be a little different. I hope that was a good answer. Yeah, all right.
What type of roles do you like to do that don't necessarily restrict or typecast you into a specific, like, archetype?
Well, I don't think I've been. The problem is when the internet came along and people started to see me, the roles were a little harder to get for certain things. So, for example, the X Games, they brought me in, I auditioned, and I'm sitting there, there's a 20-year-old next to me, and I'm like, wow, he's pulling some really mean hair here, you know. But if you look at me, you're not going to hire me for that. You're not going to hire me. I'm the licensed voice for Hermie now, from Rankin Bass, Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. But Santa, I want to be a dentist. You wouldn't necessarily hire me for that. Looking at me, you wouldn't hire me to be, you know, a lot of those kinds of things. So I also think that when people are hiring people, you know, I don't know how many different dialects, Irish and Scottish and English, and yet somebody, you know, I won't have one on the demo or something, because how long can the demos be? And I'll say, hey, why didn't you bring me in for that? And they're like, oh, I didn't know you could do that. So a lot of this is more has to do with the way that I look now and the perception. So, you know, they'll call me up, and some of the agents that I've had would, you know, most of the roles are going to be like Sam Elliott or, you know, 50, 60, 70 years old. But, you know, I've done kids' voices and things and stuff like that. So that's probably the thing that's, I don't know, I don't want to say hurting the most, but there's sort of, why do we want to have a guy who's old pretending to sound like somebody young when we could hire somebody young real easy? Well, it didn't used to work that way. The other thing, and I'm not sure how I feel about it. You know, I'm mixed, but there's a lot of stuff I can't do. I used to do Native American voices for a lot of things. Can't do it anymore, politically incorrect. And in certain things, like In Search of York, which I did with Danny Glover, I do the voices of slaves, and you know, I can't do that now. And I understand to a large extent, but when I asked him about it, how he felt, he said, you know what? It's all acting. So he didn't feel like he should be limited, and he didn't think others should be limited, but that is something to realize, that I did Hispanic accents on things. In fact, I even did a Spanish video game where I did it in Spanish. Leapfrog, I teach people how to speak French on the games for Ratatouille, the learning educational things. I couldn't do that now. Now they would insist it would be a French speaker that would come in to do it. So there's just a lot of this kind of, you know, cancel culture that is affecting things. You know, God forbid the 12-year-old on that project is actually 55 or 60 or whatever. So that's probably more of it than anything else. Because I've gone from doing, Bunyip Elder on a kid's game, Ty and the Tasmanian, and then, Sweet Tooth, the renegade clown with his hair on fire. But some people do kind of try to focus in more on one thing than another and go with your strong suit. It's very hard for me to do much more than really tell entertaining stories. This happened to me, and I was doing this, and I did a job with so and so forth, because when I first started doing this, there was no internet. There were barely PCs. And so everything about what we're doing has changed. Everything about it. We didn't work at home. We used to go out in the early days, I would go out to all the agencies, the ad agencies, to read for commercials and things like that. And I always dressed a little bit better. It was interesting. People would come in wearing T-shirts and shorts and flip-flops, and they'd go, "Oh, you're here for the voiceover, go." And then they point to me and say, "Hi, what can I do for you?" "I'm here for the voiceover too." And I like that. I really like being able to go out and have other people. And I got to benefit a great deal from really good writers and producers and directors throughout everything that I did. Nowadays, 90% of the work that I do, I'm not even supervised. There's not even anybody on the phone listening to what I do. I record, I send it back, and then they say, "Hey, we need you to redo these few lines," or something like that. Lord of the Rings is a different one. I've been doing stuff for them every 6 months or so for like 14 years for the upper levels. And I've gotten to do Smaug, dragons, orcs, village people, all that kind of stuff. And they always have people in my ear who know everything there is to know about what's going on, because it's a really important franchise. So, it's like I might say, "What are you doing in Octaville?" And he'll say, "No, it's Octaville." And I'll say, "Yeah, I'm not very good with the Middle Earth language there." But anyway, did that kind of answer it?
Sort of, yeah.
Sort of.
Well, I don't know if it was maybe like the wording of how I was trying to get across from it, in terms of like, you mentioned how your appearance sort of hinders the hiring / maybe screening process in regards to getting picked up for specific or particular roles that you might be
Yeah.
for. So I empathize and
There's a lot of people, a friend of mine, why did his name go out of my head? I'm sorry, I must have low blood pressure at the moment, because my brain ain't working so good. Anyway, he's in Scream, he does the voice in Scream, and he was Powerpuff Girls, and God, wow, he'd kill me. Anyway, for years and years, he hasn't wanted people to take pictures of him for that reason. He didn't want to be limited. So, because you put my name in Google search right now, and dozens of pictures of me will pop up. And anyway, I cut you off. You were.
No, you didn't. It's a dialogue. We're going back and forth.
Yeah.
And trying to just get a better response of how to really
It shouldn't be this way. When I used to cast and people would go in person to studios and stuff like that, I would often get calls asking for female voices, and the guy'd say sometimes, "What's she look like?" Shouldn't matter, but I guess if you're, and look out there in voiceover land, and you'll see a lot of the people who've done really well are good-looking people. Anyway, but it's all of it's a double-edged sword, and I guess the worst thing is to try and please everybody. And I hate this. San Francisco, I had a friend move to New York. He said, you should come here. I said, why? He said, because you can piss off a casting director every day, and there's still hundreds of them to go through. And that's the thing. I've always been kind of very outspoken, and it doesn't work all the time, especially if you're coming from a place of having been a producer and a writer and all that kind of stuff, and then you're doing a commercial for somebody and the director sucks, which happens. It's like, you know, how do I just keep my voice actor hat on? There's a lot of these stuff that's going on. Now it's just, you know, I got to fight for my right to party. It's like every friggin' day there's, if I lie down to take a 5-minute nap, there's 800 other people standing there wanting to take my job. So.
Feels like a downgrade.
It does. In a lot of ways, I feel like, well, you know, 200 companies or so. Most of my money's made in commercials. In fact, one Clorox commercial paid me more than like 500 games combined. And games are fun. I should have moved to Los Angeles. It's a long story. I helped take care of my mother-in-law for a few years. But some of the people I actually used to direct in games and whatnot, they moved to LA. They started doing work in cartoons and anime. And it's a hell of a lot more money. Hell of a lot more money. I don't know. But commercials are where it's at. So now, like 200, 300 companies that I've done union work for, they're no longer producing under a union contract. They've gone from, we don't want to spend $15,000, $20,000 a year, depending on how this thing runs. So they'll offer, you know, $1,000 buyout or whatever it might be. And so then the union jobs that are there, they're being fought for. You've got, everybody's carrying a SAG-AFTRA card now. So all the ad agency people, all the production people, the people at the recording studios, everybody. And I get still brought in to direct talent sometimes in person. Usually, they will call me and have me direct somebody who is affiliated with the client or something like that. The reason being is these people don't know what they're doing. They only have the job because they're the nephew of the client or they work for the client or whatever. And just in case it goes south, they have me to throw under the bus because I don't work for these ad agencies. I'm contracted. So this is what's going on now. I was in an ad agency a year and a half ago directing, and I walked into this. I got there early. I went in and, well, actually this was just talking about it beforehand. And I went into a room. There were over 2,500 people who had sent in demos through agents for one of 3 roles in a project that was paying $850. So I don't know how somebody's going to listen to 2,500 voices. When I cast, I never asked for more than 10 or 15 people. Well, 10 or 15 professionals that I know what they can do, and I look at the script and I see what the script is calling for. And well, now if it was a sound-alike, unbelievable. I learned how to do Obama like the last 3 months he was in office. Oh, yeah, okay. But I used to book people to sound like Obama. And even then, what is it, like 30, 40 people? This was generic. We need 3 people, 2 men and a woman, 2,500 auditions. And they said they were still going to have more trickle in the next few days. I said, well, what do you do with those? She said, oh, we delete them. What? So like, and then you have all this online casting. And, you pay a few $100 and you can join an organization that will send you out scripts, whether or not you have any clue as to what you're doing. It is, I know I'm sounding like a Debbie Downer here, but I'd rather deliver a truth that I feel is a fairly universal truth. There are tons and tons of people that are getting into this all the time that are doing well, they're making money. Where they are, who they are, what they know, that kind of stuff. But I would say probably serendipity plays more of a part than anything else. I was in the right place at the right time. You know, early on in the game world, I got brought in by one company, an audio production company, all the time. How are you?
Hey, sorry.
Come on in. Production company, and they brought me in like every week or two to do stuff. And then like 6 months went by, and I had work for them. And I come in. It was a husband and wife team, and I come in and I see the guy there, and I said, "Oh, where's your wife?" And he's like, "Oh yeah, we split up a few months ago." And "Oh, okay." And then I ran into her actually a few months later, and she actually asked me out on a date. So now you know why I was going there every couple of weeks. I was good enough, and somebody wanted me to have the job. And that's what it comes down to usually. You need to be good enough. If my brother is producing a project and I'm the fifth best, who's the job going to go to? Me. Yeah, well, nepotism's been the way. So I was doing a lot of work for Walgreens. I would go there like every week, and I did training films and stuff like that. And one week there was a big problem, and so he said, "We're going to be a little while. I'll take you out to lunch." I said, "Okay." I go to lunch, and I found out that this guy was a brother-in-law of a friend of mine who was a voice actor. And so we were talking, and he said, "Oh, so you must bring Bob in for all kinds of stuff." He said, "What you talking about?" I said, "Your brother-in-law, Bob Ayers. He's a voice talent." And that was stupid of me to say, because guess what? That's the last time I worked for him. He started hiring Bob. You know, even then when I was casting, I have a problem. My spine's really bad. I can't drive. And there was this one guy that he would, different things that I was at and stuff, and he would always offer to give me a ride. And, you know, I thought, oh, I pay him back for all that kindness and book him for a job. They said, "Just send us somebody. We don't, you know who's good. Just send us somebody." So I called him up and I said, "Let me hear you read this." And he did, and he sounded fine, and he got the job. He didn't even have to audition for it. So, you know, that's just reciprocity, kindness, which sucks these days because people, I would say there's 10,000 people out there that owe me a favor or more, and there's not a lot of reciprocity going on. But, you kind of got to, it's push and shove your way in for things these days. And I wish I could say voiceover was the only thing, but you want to write, you want to be an artist, you want to, you want to do almost anything these days. Pretty tough. So there'll be a computer doing my job soon. You guys work with AI at all?
A little bit, well, just the Gemini.
Yeah, the features that they've got now in Geo3 are unbelievable. I did some video stuff on it before I got here. I don't have I pay like, $30 a month or something. It's not, but it's incredible what you can do. So in a couple of years from now, what you've got happening now, what makes it really tough, all of the places that are producing content have been buying up AI companies. Disney, Apple, Sony, that's just a few. And studios, MGM, all those places, they've got investments in it too. They've also gone out and they've talked to the estates of all these actors. You can make money. You can make money. I've got companies that are coming to me saying, let us, you don't have to work. We'll just represent your AI. You get a cut every time they use it. $20, whatever, you know. I don't know how much, say, you know, Cary Grant or Anne Margaret or, you know, any of these people, or even then there was a big fight recently because of James Earl Jones with his AI. Before he died, he signed over his AI property to a company. But 5 years from now, you know, you could see a movie with Bruce Willis and, you know, even then, Sony, yeah, I'm going to blow the whistle on you guys because they're way past date, but Sony was supposed to Christmas of last year, but now it'll be, it's a game, it might be more than one. You get on, you take pictures of yourself, full body pictures, face shots, whatever, and then you say about 4 lines of audio, and you are an actual game player character, you. So, you know, they're going to be doing a James Bond one. You could actually be James Bond, or you could be the villain. Whatever you want. And eventually, this is going to turn into, you'll get a shell, or you'll get a construction kit, or something like that, and you could sit there, create your own game, essentially, and on the fly be able to change things like, put me in outer space, or send me underwater, things like that. Now that's changed so much. When I originally started doing this stuff, they didn't have that ability, like in the PlayStation 1 or even 2. They would have to record me either a few times, or they would have to record me and put effects and have, you know, J.S. sounding like this, and J.S. sound probably worse. Now they just have the one recording and they apply effects to it. So as you can imagine, they could just bring you up. You could sound like a creature 1 second. You can give yourself powers. You can do all that kind of stuff. So like the level of gaming that you like to do, whether it's, you know, online role playing or you want to play, plus the AI is getting so smart. You know, you have your own posse, you want to have your own group or something like that. It could be you and 5 AIs, you know, playing the game. And maybe, you know, maybe they make money because the AIs have levels of skill that you want to go up, AI 3 to AI 4, you pay $10 or something like that. But this is where the future's at. And I keep seeing all this stuff and I'm like, well, where are the voice artists in any of this? And they're not. They're not. So when they're carving all this out and they're all talking about this, I don't see anywhere where they're actually talking about voice artists and their involvement in a few years from now. So I'm sure that there are going to be situations where it's going to keep happening, but I don't know. Maybe it'll turn into a thing where, like it has with big animations and stuff, where now there won't be just regular Joes doing it. It'll be all kinds of, you know, kind of like a Shrek movie, but a game. You know, big names.
To pivot off of that topic, there was actually an episode of, you've heard the show Rick and Morty?
Mm-hmm.
There was one where they go to Licks and Chits, which is basically like a space Dave and Buster's, and Morty, the kid, ends up playing a video game called Roy, and he puts on a VR headset, and he's literally living out the life of a character named Roy, just like a regular human, going through all these kinds of weird adventures, and it's like a flash montage of like these different crucial moments of his life. Like he's growing up, he's learning to ride a bike, he's going to prom, then like he has a family after getting married, and then he like suffers like I think stage 2 cancer and manages to like get past it.
Wow.
And he gets to this one crucial juncture in his life where he's like working at a rug store and he's trying to pull off a rug and it ends up crushing him, and that's the game over. And then he takes it off and he's like, what just happened? Like my family, what is all this? And then he looks up and there's a score, and it's like congrats, you made it at age 57. And then his grandpa puts on the VR headset and he goes down a completely different tangent. And you hear backstory characters like watching as the game progresses, going like, "Holy shit, he's off the grid. He has no social security." Like, that's an interesting aspect of how deep AR could potentially go, as far as like you are living vicariously through a separate person.
Yeah. Or here's the deal: you come home, and you don't need a mansion and a swimming pool or any of that kind of stuff. You come home and you have a closet and a bag that you climb into. You plug into the bag, and there's a chip in you, and you plug in, and it gives you the illusion that you live in a mansion and you have a swimming pool and you're eating lobster and all that kind of stuff. You're plugged in. If you can get somebody to believe that the illusions are real, and I think that's a course we've been on for quite a few years now. So, yeah, there's this one guy out there, he teaches people how to do voiceover, and it's all fake. It's just like he's paid people to take pictures with, gone to LA and gone to events to take pictures with them and make it look like he's hobnobbing, and paid a guy to go to a private jet and get pictures of him taken sitting in a private jet and all that kind of thing. It's just so easy these days. Now with AI, of course, I could, I just put my head on, some good-looking porn star or something, and there we go. So, it's all right. I don't know. Maybe we are in a simulation. It's possible. But the one thing, and I'll end on this, that I believe has been my saving grace and why I've had any of the successes that I've had, and that's, as I mentioned before, serendipity. But it comes about through service. I hope people are going to see this and stay till the end. I'm not staying till the end. He's such a old. But it's being of service. No matter how bad I felt, like early on you lose a gig, you do whatever it might be. I don't care. You could pick up the phone, you can call somebody, you can say, "Hey, nice tie," you can, whatever it is. So service on a small level or big level or whatever it might be, you always feel good about yourself going into schools and stuff and talking to kids on a career day or any of that, or going into doing funny voices for kids in the hospital. Whatever the hell it is, it can be big, it can be small, it doesn't really matter. But if you're doing service, you're feeling good about yourself, even if you're not where you'd like to be, So that's pretty much what I got, unless there's anything else. Well, hell, at least the room was air conditioned, huh? Yeah.
Water.
Had all this lovely Kirkland purified water. So,
Thank you for your time.
that's it, yeah. Well, good.
Thanks. Thank you.
Sure.